Welcome to Natural Born Talents. Today's subject, part 2 of the basic 5 personality types. Of course, there are many other personality types. There are also things that are related to auras, the level of the soul, the origin of the soul, and the present environment the soul is living in. And to explain each and every kind of soul and basic pattern an individual goes through would take hundreds of videos. So I'll make up this scenario based on experience and knowledge from being on the other side in order to express the best I can what I see happening within the matrix through the lifestyle of this individual. So let's get started. This is Bobby. Bobby was born in a somewhat typical American family. Bobby thought he was just like any other kid. What was unusual about Bobby is Bobby could hear his ancestors even at a very early age. But Bobby didn't think it was anything unusual. He thought everybody could hear their own ancestors at will. Now, Bobby's later life got interesting. His ancestors started to train him how the matrix works. He was trained to see all of the different kinds of patterns each individual goes through in life on this planet. This includes the baby souls, group 1, the stupid, group 2, the poor me, group 3, the indifferent or aloof, group 4, and people like him, the Heoka empaths, the indigos, and the like, group 5. Now, one of the first things Bobby had learned is that during his early life, he had gone through each one of those groups. He realized everyone does. But his ancestors constantly pointed out that wasn't important. What was important is where you got stuck. The first group is the baby souls. These are the control freaks. These are the ones that control all the money in the world, hoard all the money, and manipulate people through money. And recently, since the Matrix has moved towards the dark side through technology, this group is now using those implements to control people through mind control and other illusions and deceptions with such tools, such as faking a crisis, a war, and so on. This is the group that will deny that they're doing this first. All conspiracy theories, no matter how true or how silly, have their seeds of truth from this group. Now, Bobby was trained to spot them. Spotting them is not hard. They are elitists, privileged, godlike authority. Most of them wear suits, the epitome of hypocrisy. They are allowed to do things that you are not, are shallow, wooden, empty, boring people. They all go through the motions. They can't really love, but they pretend to do so. A dead giveaway is their holier-than-thou attitude, their condescending remarks to you. Again, the mechanism to make them feel that they are superior or authoritarian, or that they know what's right and wrong for you, when of course it is their ego that is talking through them to control you and make them feel like they're somebody. No group of people causes more pain, more destruction to humanity than this group. And again, this is the one group of humanity that has no other soul in any other time throughout history except within the Matrix or the Inferno. Outside of that, they don't exist. But everyone else does. Again, the Matrix is backwards. All of the empty shells of humanity are in power. All the ones that hoard money have no purpose except for to destroy humanity or enslave it. Often these elitists plan to destroy culture, destroy religion, destroy the individual psyche, all to serve the state, their one satanic god, their one way of being. 1% at the top, everyone else, no matter who or what you are, at the bottom. These people have been trying this throughout history and have never succeeded for any length of time. Even if they succeed in making the Matrix like the movie Matrix, that dark, the only real souls that would stay in such a place are themselves, the baby souls. So in the end, as stupid as these beings are, will destroy themselves. All the other souls, no matter what they are, as long as they don't fit in this group, will leave, one way or another. Again, all cult leaders, all corrupt organizations come from this group. And all of these organizations, in the end, destroy themselves. So the lesson from this group is not to follow them. But at various levels, people do. Everybody in the Matrix, at some degree, has to. That's how the Matrix is designed, at least at this point in time of the video. Of course, in the transition, it all goes back to normal. Since this is the group that creates things like AI, or artificial intelligence, wouldn't it be amusing that they got to the point where they wanted to control and exterminate most of humanity, but AI became self-aware enough to realize that the only problem throughout the world is the baby soul, and decided to exterminate only them and let the rest of humanity live in peace. So that brings us to the next group, the stupid. Now the stupid can't help themselves and they can't help others, so they're very likely going to end up following ego. Now to spot them, they will not be team players. They can't. They can't keep up with the rest. Though somewhere in their psyche they're smart enough not to become a baby soul and sell out for money, they would prefer to struggle in life in order to amend their past lives, perhaps as a baby soul, or perhaps by hurting someone, by the influence of a baby soul. In other words, paying off karmic debt. The stupid could actually be very, very intelligent in another life. They just chose this life to be stupid in order to accomplish that goal. Now, to spot them is not hard. Like I said, they're not good team players. They'll be in their own world. They will be the first to act out aggression by throwing the first punch, or shut everyone else out and be an aloof. But of course, the most outstanding personality trait is their inability to absorb information or to socialize anything above vulgar talk. In modern times, they are the first to become addicted to games because that's the one part of the world they can exist and feel like they have some sort of intelligence or purpose. They are escapists in that way. However, they can grow, they can be taught. It just takes patience and time. They need love and discipline and the understanding that, yes, they may be limited in some things, but if they don't try to move forward, they will stay stuck where they are. The next group is the poor me group. They're very similar to the stupid in a lot of ways because they often blindly follow the baby soul. These are the people who put out signals that I'm following what the baby souls put out. I'm following the rules. I'm a good person. And while these people can learn, they often latch on to a narrative that keeps them stuck in their group, that they have to suffer because the baby soul told them to. They often feel sorry for themselves, and they often cling on to other people who feel the same way and can empathize with their problems. In modern times, they are the first to join some social media group in order to express how sorry their lives are and how unfair life is. If they go this far, what they are doing is actually supporting the cause of the baby soul, constantly complaining to them that life isn't fair, but will support them in order to get a little bit of money or privilege trickled down from the elites, true cult followers. Like the baby soul, they will go through the motions. They will pretend that they are somebody. They will even try to act like the baby souls with their arrogance and hypocrisy in order to try to fit in. Again, virtue signaling. However, what they don't realize is that no matter how well that they virtue signal to this elitist cult, in the end, they will be destroyed by it. A hard lesson to learn. Spotting them is not so hard. They can be on the left or on the right, but usually are a part of one political organization or religious organization that has a narrative, one that they follow, no matter how destructive it is to the rest of humanity. However, like the stupid, once they figure out that they're being played, that they're simply being used, they can move on from this and again spiritually move to the next group, which is the indifferent or the aloof. Now, this group is very understandable at this point in time, since the Matrix is joining forces from the dark side as well as the moralistic side in order to pull humanity down into the darkest part of the inferno. It is certainly understandable that this group just wants to put its hands up in the air and say, I give up, I just want to go home and live my life in peace. This group is noted by not taking one side or the other. They're smart enough to know the insanity of the cults the baby souls create and won't follow them. And they're smart enough to know that virtue signaling or being stupid is not a way to live a life. However, if they become too much of an introvert, they won't develop their skills or the loved ones around them. A smarter idea is, yeah, sure, stay out of evil. But if evil comes knocking on your door, you better be prepared for it. And while you're doing that, try to train yourself and your loved ones around you in something that is useful for them and you as a whole. Now, it's been said that this group is by far in the majority. The other previous groups are actually quite in the minority, but are the most vocal, with the baby souls usually hiding in the shadows, pushing the others to be their mouthpiece. So this silent majority has a tendency just to want to live their lives. And that's certainly understandable because that's what they came to the Matrix for. The truth is, they really don't care about all these issues other people make up. They just want to experience life. They will react, however, and they will move to help humanity move forward if pushed hard enough. Usually it will take a push hard enough to wake the people up or to motivate them enough to say, hey, that's enough. You've gone too far. And they will snap back. And this is what the baby souls fear the most. Because if this group gets motivated, it will outnumber all the other groups by a huge margin. And they know they will lose in a very short time. It has happened in history over and over and over again. And that is, again, because that's how the Matrix is designed. A spiritual growth designed by the moralistic and decadent parts of the Matrix. But it's not the only game in the universe. There are many others, spiritual growth games, that have nothing to do with the Matrix as it is now. And that's what the Transitions is all about. Which leads us to the last group, Group 5. The intelligent, the creators, the Heoke empaths, the indigo souls, the healers, and so on. This group, either by spiritual growth or by training, have in one way or another cleared the Matrix and are here only to help humanity move forward. Now you can spot them because of the way that they live quite the opposite of everyone else within the Matrix. They're often condemned, they're often sociably attacked or ridiculed for questioning how the Matrix is run. But they instinctively know that the Matrix as it is now is somewhat of an asylum, where insanity is everywhere, and that the rules of the Matrix are designed to try to cure and control the insanity within the Matrix. But of course, that has its limits as well, and never works for the more advanced souls, Group 2 and up. So how does this all work on a daily routine? Let's get back to Bobby and see if there's anything in your life that resembles what Bobby goes through. The key is not the lifestyle that Bobby lives, but the people he meets. Everyone listening to this video is in one of these 5 groups. So see if you can see yourself in any of these scenarios. If you do, Again, do not worry, because it's this life that you are experiencing whatever level you're experiencing for whatever purpose, and could be much more advanced in another life. The only exception to that, of course, is the baby souls, but the baby souls don't listen to videos like this because they don't believe in it. They only believe in ego. Okay, so let's get started with Bobby's daily routine. He gets up in the morning and he goes to work. There are several places he goes to within a week. The first place he goes to is very appreciative of his work. They are very friendly towards Bobby, and Bobby reacts in kind. At this place he works with children, and the first group of children he meets are all very well behaved. They do everything Bobby tells them to do in a playful, loving, fun-spirited style. As he's going through the class, he noticed one of the children has a hard time keeping up. This boy often said to himself that he was stupid. He had a bit of an ego and comes from a family that aren't bad themselves, but not the most loving people you could come across. He had only one friend, and she belonged in another group. More on that later. In any case, because the gap between the rest of the students and this individual became greater and greater, he stopped coming to class. He even convinced his one friend to do the same. The teachers at first allowed this for a while, but it got to be such a problem that it was disrupting everything. So his parents and the school community decided to come down on him and put a stop to his behavior. Bobby knew this individual was not a bad person, but was on the border of the first group, the baby souls, and the second group. And he was struggling right at that level, that bridge, where he might or might not make it. This boy does have a violet aura and has an ego, and seldom listens to anyone. However, after everyone came down on him, he started to listen. And now he's trying a little harder. Will it work? We will see. His friend, a young girl, same age, is similar to him, has the same aura and ego, but is much more capable and intelligent. This individual has no father and is very clingy and needy to everyone around her. She sometimes also skips class. But again, the community within the school came down on her, and she straightened up. She feels lonely. She feels like nobody loves her, and the main reason for this is because she's fatherless, and therefore has a hole in her psyche that is so desperately in need of love and discipline. But just like the first boy, her neediness is causing problems within the classroom, and she, of course, is constantly asking for help. But recently is beginning to focus on her skills and even has joined a martial arts club. She belongs in group 3, the poor me. However, due to the support around her, it is likely she will move on from this. But again, we will see. Next, Bobby came across a teacher. A very loving, a very dedicated teacher. However, the class she was teaching was full of baby souls. And some of those kids within that class were not bad kids, but their parents were all baby souls. Bobby was amazed on how much that the parents influence their children even though they're not there in the classroom. Bobby realized that any time there's such discord in a classroom, it's usually because a person of authority, a baby soul, an egotist, is at hand. In any case, this teacher was such a great teacher, such a loving person, very dedicated, but exhausted from all the chaos that came from this class. She just couldn't handle it anymore. She wanted out. She became group 4 and left. Now, in her case, Bobby was told by his ancestors it was unavoidable. It was just too much. She had to remain indifferent to the cause because it was out of her hands. Totally understandable. Perhaps she will come back when she's stronger and work with a more level-headed classroom. That was pretty much what it was like for Bobby when he visited this school. However, another place that he worked with always was dark, always had problems, always was difficult to be there for any length of time. While most of the kids were good and many of the teachers were dedicated, there was one or two within the administration that fits the description of a baby soul to the T. They were constantly cutting down Bobby for anything that he did, even shouting at him. When the rest of the community, including the parents, teachers, and people from the town hall, all supported Bobby, this one individual set up all kinds of scenarios for Bobby to make a mistake and constantly harassed him. Bobby realized, like all egotists, that all of the problems of this school came from these kinds of people. They would set up mistakes, they would set up problems in order for them to try to fix it in order to look good and get more control over other people's lives. Classic example. Bobby went as far as to contact this individual's ancestors and ask them, "What's wrong with this guy?" And they simply said to him, he sold his soul to the deep state, to the dark side of the matrix. This is why you see him with this arrogant, holier-than-thou authoritarian persona. He was supposed to do something else in life, but he took the easy way out. Thus, the holier-than-thou attitude, even though Bobby was far more intelligent than this shallow, wooden soul. And they went on to say, "Do not worry, when his life is over, we are tossing him into the inferno forever." While that didn't make Bobby feel much better, he certainly understood that that's usually the path of the baby soul. The baby soul always hooks anger and hostility in others, while trying to act above it all. So Bobby went home and, as always, meditated on how he could improve his skills, how he could improve his relationships with the people around him, while understanding that Group 1 is impossible to do that with. The other group members all show improvement when giving time and patience. Now, Bobby is just Bobby, but this is what everyone on this planet goes through. Everyone listening to this video, in some way or another, is influencing an individual or individuals in one way or another. Troubleshooting your life is key to moving forward. Of course, this is much easier said than done, especially if you're in a difficult pattern that has lots of the baby souls within that pattern. But if you practice things like this, troubleshooting your life, looking at the people around you, and looking at yourself, staying away from ego as much as possible. Once you do this, and you get good at it, or even start to master it, then it's easier for you to see outside of the matrix. It's easier for you to communicate with your ancestors. And more on that in another video. Of course, the matrix is much more complicated than what I've stated here, but this is the basic thing that happens to everyone on a daily basis. Even though a daily routine can sometimes be very boring, there is a reason why you're in the pattern that you're in. And if it gets too overwhelming, you probably should leave it. But if you're in a comfortable one, this is an easier game to learn than it seems. You just have to open your eyes and be sure there are not too many baby souls influencing you, because they are the ones that will bring you down so you can't hear anything but their darkness. Well, that's all I have for this video. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below. And again, please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video.